What's up, everyone? Matt Parrino here, NYup.com and Syracuse.com. Here at New Era Field, where the Buffalo Bills just wrapped up the 2018 season with a 42-17 win over the Miami Dolphins, division rival. They were able to take them out. They played earlier this season, a month ago actually. The Bills dropped a heartbreaker on that final last play where Charles Clay dropped the ball in the end zone. This week, this game in Buffalo, totally different story. Josh Allen came out, led the Bills to 5 offensive touchdowns. The defense rallying around Kyle Williams in his last game forces a number of turnovers, interceptions, forced fumbles, and the Bills win this one going away. A lot to talk about today. I mean, you think back to the beginning of this season and everything that transpired in the lead up to the season. Let me actually get this up here in case anybody has any questions. Obviously watching on our Facebook live page, or our Facebook page. This will be posted later to YouTube as well. So make sure you follow us, Buffalo Bills, on NYup.com on Facebook. If you're watching on YouTube, you can follow these live chats, get involved, ask questions, etc. But yeah, a lot to unpack here today. I mean, going into the game, I think everybody was talking about Kyle Williams, his last game, what he's meant to the Bills, the organization, his teammates. You saw Harrison Phillips out on the field today after the game in tears because of what Kyle Williams has meant to not only himself as a player, but also this team and the leadership that he's brought. The showing how to prepare and how to play in this league really impacted Harrison Phillips, a guy that now is going to be tasked with kind of picking things up for Kyle Williams with him out of the picture. A young third-round draft pick. He's had his moments this year, but he's going to be leaned upon next season depending on who the Bills bring in the draft, free agency. That's another interesting thing we could talk about. The Bills looking like they're locked into that number 9 spot in the draft. Going to be very interesting to see where they go with there. But yeah, everything was about Kyle Williams today, but it was Josh Allen who, I think if you're a Bills fan looking to the future, looking for some type of excitement about the prospects of this team going forward, you got that today in Josh Allen. This was the full Josh Allen experience, right? It was all of the big plays with his arm, with his legs, but it was also some of those, questionable throws, a couple errant passes here and there in the short game, the pick 6 interception that led to 7 points for the Dolphins right before halftime, bringing the game to 14-14. But what you did see too also is, the resiliency of a Josh Allen, the kind of respect and admiration that he commands from his teammates. Looking at, Sean McDermott and Josh Allen, what they said after the game, and even LaShawn McCoy, there was a bit of a scrap in this game in the third quarter. Kiko Alonso came in late, hit Josh Allen, was ejected from the game. There was a skirmish. Jordan Mills got into it. He was ejected. Another Miami Dolphins player was ejected. And I thought it was impressive the way the Bills, as a team, rallied in there to make sure, Josh Allen was pulled out. LaShawn McCoy, a captain, a guy that kind of took Josh Allen aside, told him, get off the field. You're not supposed to be in there. You're not supposed to be fighting. I think that there's a lot of parts of Josh Allen's game, and not necessarily just, what he brings from a production standpoint, but what he brings as a leader. There's so many leaders on the defensive side of the ball: Lorenzo Alexander, Kyle Williams, Micah Hyde, guys that are very vocal. On the offensive side, especially going into the season, you didn't know who the leaders were going to be on that side of the ball. LaShawn McCoy traditionally hasn't necessarily been that leader-type player. More concerned maybe a little bit about his own production. A team guy wants to win, but at the same time, I feel like they were looking for somebody to step up on the offensive side of the ball, and Josh Allen has done that. You look at his game today, I mean, it's just outstanding stuff. Statistically speaking, breaks the franchise record for rushing in a quarterback. And I know you don't necessarily want your quarterback to be leading the way in the rushing game. Another bit of a struggle for McCoy today in the running game. We'll get there in a minute. But you look at the stats here. I mean, 17 for 26, 224 yards, 103 touchdown passes, 114.9 quarterback rating, and wow, I mean that's some significant production. Now, keep in mind, the Miami Dolphins were a bit beat up going into this game. Xavier Howard didn't play, the cornerback that picked off Josh Allen 2 times when they played back in December 2nd. But, you know, this is still an NFL team that Josh Allen is going up against, and this is the type of confidence-building performance that you want to see. Robert Foster, a touchdown pass. The connection is continuing to develop between those two. And very important, I think, is, you know, it seems like he loves playing the Miami Dolphins, but Zay Jones with a huge performance today. 6 receptions, 93 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's 4 touchdown grabs on the season against the Dolphins. Like I said, really likes playing the Miami Dolphins. But, you know, progression. I mean, you look back to last season and the struggles that Zay Jones had. A game like this probably would have elicited a lot of hope and a lot of excitement amongst Bills fans who are hoping that the Bills can find a few answers in the wide receiver room as we go forward. LaShawn McCoy struggled. Keep it on the offensive side of the ball quite a bit again today. Final numbers were 10 carries for 26 yards, 2.6 yards per carry. Did have a rushing touchdowns, 9-yard touchdown, and it was after Jordan Mills left the game. Connor McDermott, the rookie, was in at right tackle. The rookie Ike Bucker was in at right guard, which is very interesting. You see a little bit of a changing of the guard there in the offensive line. A nice touchdown run. Seemed like a big hole opened up on the right side on that play. Going into next season, this offensive line, let's be honest, is going to have to be addressed, and addressed in a big way. I think you're getting some production from Wyatt Teller at left guard. He's looked good at times. You know, you're going to have to dive back into the tape in the offseason to really look at, you know, his whole body of work. But there's, you know, signs from him that he could be an NFL caliber offensive lineman. And then, you know, going into free agency, so much money, almost $90 million in free agency to maybe rebuild this offensive line, picking 9th in the draft. It's going to be interesting because this is a very defensive-heavy draft, right? We've been talking about this for weeks. A lot of defensive tackles, some edge rushers, some cornerbacks. Greedy Williams is the top one by most accounts from LSU. A lot of good defensive players that, you know, with the Bills drafting 9, you wonder if some of those big, high-profile defensive names are off the board if the Bills do go offense in that spot, trade down. A lot of options. On the defensive side of the ball today, man, just another amazing performance from this defense, who has a good chance to finish #1 in total defense for the season. They've been kind of exchanging that ranking back and forth week by week with the Baltimore Ravens, who are playing the Cleveland Browns right now. Tre'Davious White with an interception today. Tremaine Edmonds with an interception today. A sack, a tackle for a loss. I think he finished with, let's see here, Tremaine Edmonds. I have it somewhere here. Somewhere here I have it. I think he finished around 10 tackles last time I checked. And, you know, an outstanding game for a guy who people forget, or some people don't even know, he switched when he got into the NFL. He was an outside linebacker in college, playing middle linebacker, learning that position as a 20-year-old rookie. And I think all the production that you've gotten out of Tremaine Edmonds, if you're Sean McDermott, Brandon Beane, this season has to be a big positive when it comes to Tremaine Edmonds. And you saw today the upside and what he could do. Matt Milano not in the lineup, injured a few weeks back, and even still, he was able to, you know, cause a lot of problem for this Miami offense. Ryan Tannehill again struggled. His record went to 0-5 against the Bills in his career at New Era Field in Orchard Park. He looked really bad today again, and you wonder what's going to happen with him this offseason and this whole Miami Dolphins team, which could be changed quite a bit. Shaq Lawson, another guy I wanted to mention. He was really great today. He played really well. Had a couple sacks, one forced fumble on Tannehill, and a guy that's, you know, I remember back in training camp, all of us talking about, you know, what Shaq Lawson needs to do to prove that he should be a part of this team. I mean, I remember some fans even talking about the fact that they thought before preseason started that Lawson potentially could be a casualty on cut day. And he's come out, and every step of the way this season, with his work ethic and what Sean McDermott has harped on out of Shaq Lawson, but his production has been great. So if you're a Bills fan, that's exciting. You have most of this defense coming back next year. The nucleus of this defense very young, with Tremaine Edmonds, Tre'Davious White with the injury today, the interception as well, and then still Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer at that second level playing really, really great football. Wow, it was a fun game. I think going into this one, I think people didn't really know what to expect. Not a lot on the line, and these games can get a little messy when those things happen. You saw on the Miami side, you wonder how many of these guys even wanted to take the plane ride to Buffalo to play this game. But Sean McDermott, as he always seems to do, got this Buffalo Bills team up to play. It wasn't that hard. Kyle Williams last day really took over the entire environment, the entire mood of the stadium, and you felt it throughout. An emotional Kyle Williams at the start, after the introduction where he got some solo treatment, shed a few tears during the national anthem, and then throughout the game you just saw the emotion building. And the future's bright. We have a lot to talk about. Tomorrow is locker cleanout day. We'll be at NYup.com. We'll be at One Bills Drive to bring you all the coverage from that. Make sure you give us a follow on Twitter at Bills Updates. We'll have you covered throughout this very exciting offseason ahead. And we'll also chat tomorrow afternoon. I'll be back here on Facebook Live to maybe take a different approach to the chat and kind of look ahead at what we had to look forward to this offseason, the big milestones, what fans are looking most forward to, and what the Bills need to do to take that next step. You've seen Tom Brady and the New England Patriots be a little vulnerable at times. They're going to win this division this year, but so much potential for 2019 and beyond. We'll talk a lot about that tomorrow. Make sure you join me right here on Facebook Live, Buffalo Bills on NYup.com. And as always, throughout the season, guys, thank you so much for joining me and following all our coverage over at NYup.com. We'll see you tomorrow.